All right. Welcome back into part two of our little NBA playoff preview. We went really in depth in part one for the Western Conference. That was really exciting. We went through each game. It was really good. We talked about the play in a little bit. It was a good podcast. So if you haven't listened to that one, tune into that one first and then come back to this one. But we're going to start part two. We're going to talk about the Eastern Conference, and we're going to see if our predictions changed from the trade deadline. A lot of stuff has happened. A whole second half of the season happened. So we're going to see if anything has changed in our opinions. But first, we got to talk about the one seed in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks. They're either going to be playing the Miami Heat or the Chicago Bulls, which tipped off at 7 o'clock. I'm going to check the score on that real quick. But, Drew,
I,
before we get on the score, I want you to talk about Milwaukee for us. Give us a little in-depth on what you have seen from Milwaukee this year.
yeah, and so Milwaukee, we've seen them. They've won a championship already, um, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, great player. He was banged up a little bit this year, but for the most part, he's been healthy. Um, and then Drew Holiday, I talked about this at the trade deadline. I'm very high on Drew Holiday. I think he's just kind of that glue piece. Because they have Giannis as their star, obviously, but Drew Holiday, I think, was one of the greatest pickups that the Bucks have had, and it's really showing because he can really dish it out. He can score. He can give you 12 assists a night, or he can give you 30 points a night.
Love
Um,
Drew Holiday. Awesome.
yeah, and we've seen that so many times this season, and so that's kind of why, he's that glue piece. And then we also see guys like Brook Lopez, um, who's really stepped it up defensively. I think he's been a great defensive player this year, and I don't know if he's up there with Depoy, but he's just been amazing defensively. And then Chris Middleton, I think, is a story going in because we saw him hurt for a while. Um, and he's kind of starting to come back to that Chris Middleton form that we always wanted to see him at. And so he's been a great scorer in his career when he's been healthy. He's been he's been a solid defender. And I really think that those four guys really in their starting lineup are great. And then I think you were saying Grayson Allen was banged up.
Yeah, he
Um,
was banged up a little bit. I
yeah,
believe it was a knee injury. Let me check that out real
yeah,
quick, but continue.
yeah. And then you see guys like Joe Ingles is a nice depth piece, and Jay Crowder, another great defensive guy who's had playoff experience, and then Bobby Portis too. Those are some guys that kind of just provide them with depth, and Pat Connaughton too, and Javon Carter are other guys that kind of fill out that rotation, which is nice because we talked about this in the first podcast. Fatigue really is a factor because these guys have been playing all year, and now it's playoff times, and you're having these guys play close to the entire game. So for the Bucks, really, you can set Drew Holiday and Giannis on the bench for a few minutes, and you can have guys come in and step up and fill in their roles. Not quite as at the level that the Drew Holiday and Giannis do, but they can really kind of fit that bench piece together. So I like the Bucks. I picked them. Just like I did, similar to the Nuggets as the one seed, I have them sweeping whoever they play, just because I think this is a dominant team, and I just don't think either team really has a guy or really anyone in the league that can really stop Giannis. You know, so
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Milwaukee, they've just been so good this year. Flat out dominant. Incredible year from Giannis Antetokounmpo. Probably one of his best seasons so far in his career. He's just been incredible. And then you look at other guys, you talked about it perfectly. You put Chris Middleton in there, he's flat out incredible. You talked about Drew Holiday. He's on All NBA second team last I checked. They're looking at him. He's up there. He's been fantastic. Brook Lopez at the beginning of the season was up there for Defensive Player of the Year. He's another one that's just incredible. And I don't know where he is sitting on that ladder. I don't think he's up there with the top two. I would put Draymond and Evan Mobley and Jaren Jackson ahead of him currently. But again, he's had a monster year. He's a fantastic rim protector. They are dealing with a little bit of injuries, like you talked about. Grayson Allen, he's dealing with actually an ankle injury. Just look that up. And then Pat Connaughton is also dealing with an ankle injury. So they will be out for the first couple games. I'm assuming that they'd be back for the second round. But it's going to be interesting. Like, they got a lot of depth, like you were talking about. Another guy is Bobby Portis, flat out incredible scorer off the bench. And whoever they play, it's tough. It's really tough. I was looking at the Miami-Chicago score. Currently, Miami is winning that game. I got 23-13 right now in the first quarter. If Miami sneaks out, it's a tough team because you can't take them for granted. It's Jimmy Butler, it's Bam Adebayo, and it's Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in basketball. So they will try to put some pieces on it, but it'll be kind of like 2 years ago when Miami played Milwaukee in the first round. I think Milwaukee will flat out dominate that series. I'm going to give the Heat a game because I love Jimmy Butler that much. I'm going to give them 5 games, but I got Milwaukee winning that series. And there's really no doubt about it. What do you think?
Yeah, and like I said, I think they're coming out regardless of who they play. I know that the Heat have shown a fight in the past. I know Jimmy Butler. We talked about this on the first podcast too. Has been kind of a shining star in the playoffs. He struggled in one of the play-in games, but I think that regardless of who they play, I just don't think either of those teams can really take a game from this really talented Bucks team who, we thought every year we think that, oh, maybe they'll slow down just a little bit, but no, they maintain that 1 seed again this year, and they've been in the finals before and they've won the finals before. So it's gonna be a fight for them all postseason, and we're hoping that they can stay healthy, just because we want to see that full Bucks team. But really, I think that their depth and their stars can really just take them to places that are just going to be incredible. So
Yeah, no, I think you put it perfectly. I'm not going to add to anything. Milwaukee, top tier in the Eastern Conference, 100%. All right, let's get to the 2-7, okay? We got Atlanta and we got Boston. This is going to be really interesting. I'm excited for this series. Atlanta's got some pieces that they put together. Quinn Snyder has really taken control and has shown some stuff with the offense. He's put Trae Young off the ball a little bit, which I think has kind of unlocked him a little bit. I'm excited to see Quinn Snyder continue to put the pieces in and see what he can do in a playoff series. What do you think about this series when you look at it?
yeah, so I think the Celtics are just another really good team, right up there with the Bucks. I think the Hawks, we've seen them this year. Trae Young's, we talked about it earlier, has had some problems with the front office and the coaching staff, and that's been a distraction. But I think in terms of, it's time for the playoffs, I think they're all going to be locked in. And we talked about this at the trade deadline too. They have a lot of pieces, a lot of young pieces. DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella's been good. And then obviously Trae Young that's kind of the 4 piece of that team, along with Bogdanovich, who can really shoot the ball well. And then they acquired Sadiq Bey, and then John Collins was talked about being traded, but he's on that team still, and he has his moments, right? But ultimately, I think that this Celtics team is going to come out on top. I have them in 5, so I think the Hawks I think they can steal a game just because we've seen Trae Young, like you said, he's been unlocked, he's been unleashed, and they're kind of just letting him be that Trae Young player that we saw, a few years ago, in that series. I can't remember who it was against, but
The Knicks, yeah,
the
incredible
Knicks.
series.
Yeah, yeah, and so he's had a lot of criticism, comparing him with Luka Doncic on that trade night on draft night, and look who's come out on top, in multiple seasons, right? Luka Doncic is going to be watching the game from home, and Trae Young is going to be playing one of the best teams in the league, and going to be proving himself and proving why he should have been, taken where he was in the draft. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot to prove for the Hawks, and I think they're taking steps in the right direction 100%. I think it's a little too early. I think Boston really has the pieces to just kind of take care of business. I have them in 5 also. Boston, They're just so talented, so
Yeah.
talented. Jason Tatum has had an unbelievable year. Probably should be in a regular season near the top of the MVP. The MVP is so stacked this year. Joel Embiid had an unbelievable year, who we'll get to. Nikola Jokic, any other normal season, probably would have won the MVP. And Giannis Antetokounmpo was flat out incredible this year too. He
There's
doesn't
there's
get
gonna
enough.
there's gonna be no more normal seasons for MVP race in the future. So
I
I
know.
mean those three guys, and you always have a guy who you don't expect to be up there. But yeah, those three guys, as long as they stay healthy, I know they're talking about, having a amount of games played kind of limit in order to qualify for the MVP. But yeah, Jason Tatum just flat out incredible. Brown has been incredible. We've seen that whole Celtics team really. Al Horford stepped up. He's getting a little bit older, but he stepped up. And so we'll talk about the Celtics more. But yeah, I like the Celtics in five.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you were saying it. Like Al Horford, man doesn't age. He's flat out incredible. He can switch on everybody. He's really good. Robert Williams can come in and give you some minutes. I talked about it on NBA for Dummies a little bit. He's frustrating for Boston fans because they just want him on the floor, and he can't seem to stay on the floor, and he's just so impactful for the team. If he can stay on the floor, he's tough to handle. You got Marcus Smart, who was the Defensive Player of the Year last year, flat out incredible. Derek White, another piece guard that's fantastic defender, can shoot the ball a little bit. Grant Williams, versatile defender, can shoot. Boston, they shoot the most threes in the NBA. They shoot so many threes. They're flat out incredible. And if they're hitting shots, it's scary. And that's why I'm giving Atlanta one game, and that's because I think one of the games Boston won't be hitting their shots. That's the thing with living and dying by the three. One of the games you're probably not going to be hitting, and that will help Atlanta in giving them a win. It could give them two. We don't know, but it's not going to give them the series. Boston is going to be there at the end. I'm going to give Atlanta a lot of credit. They turned things around. We were really hard on Trae Young in the NBA trade deadline thing. He's starting to get used to having Quinn Snyder as a coach and having that impact with him. I think that's going to help him as a basketball player. He's just got to learn to adapt more. If he can continue to adapt and be that guy, like, okay, I'll play off ball. Okay, I'll try on defense harder. If he can continue to do that stuff, it's only going to help him in the future. And it's the same thing with Luka Doncic at this point as well. He's got to be like, okay, I'm willing to move off ball. Okay, I'm willing to play defense. It's the same thing with these guys because they're so talented in so many different ways. They just need to figure out how to adapt a little more.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, and the Celtics have just we saw it late in the season. They had that 40 plus point blowout against the Bucks, and we'll touch on that again later. But I just think that the Celtics are another very dominant team, and we did give the Hawks a lot of criticism at the trade deadline just because we didn't know what was going to happen with Trae Young. We still don't know what's going to happen with Trae Young, coming up. He's figured it out a little bit. Um, but like I said, he's going to be locked in. The team's going to be locked in. And that's where this competing comes into play because you're not out until you're out, right? And so they're in the playoffs. They're there for a reason. They fought all year, and they, for the most part, were able to stay healthy. I don't know if they have anyone injured going to the series.
I do not believe so when I looked
Yeah,
at it last. So
yeah,
the Hawks should be chilling and the Celtics should be chilling in this series. Let me look at it. Gallinari's been out for a while, but he hasn't been
okay,
too big of a piece for them. I'm
right,
starting to lose
right.
my voice. These allergies are killing me, dude. Killing me.
That's okay.
But let's move on to the next team, okay? Or the next series. We're going to talk 76ers and Nets, okay? So the Nets made a lot of deals at the deadline. If you tuned into NBA for Dummies, I really went in depth with that one. So um, tune into that one if you didn't. That would really give you a good background on what the Nets look like now. Drew, talk to me about this series, what you see from the 76ers. We need to give the Sixers a lot of credit because they've really stepped it up in Embiid. So talk to me about them and what you've seen
Yeah,
from them
yeah,
this year.
r- right. So before we get to the Sixers, I just want to touch on the Nets again. And
Okay.
this is another thing we talked about at the trade deadline. and we weren't quite sure what was going to happen with the Nets just because they had dealt, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and they just like we didn't know what was going to happen. And they're a six seed. They're a six seed. They fought hard, and look who's going to be watching the Nets at home too, the Mavs and Kyrie Irving. And so, I give them a lot of credit. I don't think they're going to come out of this series. I think they might be able to take a game or two. I think that the Sixers are going to win in five or six. But looking at the Sixers, I mean, Joel Embiid has just been phenomenal this year. Both offensively and defensively. Mostly offensively, he's able to, score inside. He's been shooting the ball pretty well, and he's just so big. I mean, he's 7 feet tall, 7'1", and he's big, right? He can back you down. And, one thing I'll knock on Joel Embiid for is sometimes he'll take wild shots and he'll flop or whatever it is. And he's one of the bigs we see doing that a lot more nowadays. But, I love Joel Embiid. He's a great player. He's going to win the MVP in my opinion. And so when you have a guy like that on your team, I think that having James Harden with him and you and I have talked about this before with the Nuggets, not having that other piece really. It's just been Jokic. So when you look at Embiid this year and when you look at the Sixers, Tyrese Maxey has played really well. Tobias Harris has had his moments too, and they signed him to a big deal, and maybe he's not living quite up to the hype that he came in with. Um, I mean, Melton's been playing pretty well, and they're another team that I think is just they're deep. Montrezl Harrell's another veteran that's going to come off the bench, but I think their top three guys of Embiid and Maxey and Harden are just going to be too much for the Nets to overcome. Even though the Nets have continued to fight, and sorry, I'm losing my voice too, I guess, but
We might have been going a little too long, but that's okay.
yeah. So, back to the Nets. I think I love Mikal Bridges. Dinwiddie's been great with them. And so you see guys, they have pieces. Nick Claxton's been good all year. I love Nick Claxton. But I just don't think it's enough to overcome this trio or duo that the Sixers have with Harden and Embiid. And if you want to add in Maxey, who's been playing some games out of his mind too, better than Harden has. But so yeah, we see Harden average 11 assists a game. Embiid was averaging 33 points a game and 10 rebounds, and then they got guys defensively too. Melton is good on defense, and again, Embiid, with his height and his size, can be have an impact inside too. So I think that the Sixers are another tough team, and I just think that they're going to be too much for the Nets to overcome.
Yep, no, I agree 100%. I'm not going to argue with that there. Like, just flat out incredible analysis. Like, Sixers, man, they're just deep. They're tough, They got PJ Tucker as well, Jaden McDaniels. They got some guys that can really defend the ball, and they're going to be difficult. They're going to be really difficult. I gave Embiid a lot of flowers on the last podcast. He deserves it all. He's going to be the MVP of the league. He's flat out incredible. You can't stop him no matter what you do. It's just going to be hard for the Nets to match up with them. They do have Nicholas Claxton, who I think could be a big impact in this series, and depending on what he does in the series, could give Embiid a little bit of problems, but I don't see too much. And Mikal Bridges, he's going to have a monster series. I think he's got a little motivation because the Sixers did trade him on draft night, which will help in this series. But I got the Sixers closing it out in 6 games. I'm going to give the Nets some credit. They've been fantastic this year. They can win some tough games. They got some scorers in Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson. They're just flat out incredible. They got some pieces that will be tough, and they got a lot of defensive pieces that they can throw at people, which I think will be huge in this series. But I do have the 76ers getting out of here in 6 games. Embiid will be the story of this series. And talking about Jokic, with him having a lot of pressure, Embiid has the same amount of pressure on him. It's going to be very difficult. Like, you got to get to the conference finals, okay? These two guys have been on top of the MVP race probably the past 3 years now. So now there's no room to waste. You guys got to be the team, the players that can get your guys to win games. And Jokic has proved it making it into the conference finals. Embiid has not gotten past that second round. Probably should have if Kawhi's role didn't happen, but it did happen. So now you got James Harden. You got a team that can do it. You got pieces that can do it. Here's your chance, man. I know you got to get through the Celtics to do it, but looking at it on paper, I mean, I think the Sixers could probably win that series.
Yeah.
Should be exciting.
Oh yeah, and they'll be another fun team to watch, just like a lot of these other teams we've talked about too. So, yep.
All right, let's get to the Cavs Knicks as we are losing our voices here talking about this. But Cavs Knicks, let's just keep it brief. I talked about the Cavs a lot just through the past. We know how much I love the Cavs. I'm still in on the Cavs. I like them a lot in this series. It's going to be difficult. We're talking about the Knicks. You got Jalen Brunson. You got Julius Randle. Randle's been dealing with some stuff with his ankle, so that'll be interesting to see what's going on there. The Knicks have been flat out outstanding. They got a lot of depth here. My voice is starting to come back, so I'm starting to feel it. Let's go. But this is going to be a really interesting series. I'm really excited to see some of the coaching in this series because JB Bickerstaff has shown to be a fantastic coach. I like Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau has been in many playoff situations. It's going to be interesting to see what he does on the defensive end to keep the Knicks into it. RJ Barrett's going to have a big series, in my opinion, for the Knicks to really take a step up. I got the Cavs coming out of this series in 6 games. Isaac Okoro has been dealing with some injuries, which will hurt Cleveland because they're going to need that forward to step up. Dean Wade's going to have to come off the bench, really step up for them to, get the series under control. And Donovan Mitchell's going to have an incredible series as well. He's really their offensive engine. But if Evan Mobley can succeed on that defensive end and Darius Garland can have an excellent series passing the ball, playmaking, and scoring, I don't see why the Cavs can't get past the Knicks in this series. I just don't think Jalen Brunson has enough to get past those two bigs that are just so talented that it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with everything you're saying. I also have the Cavs in 6. I think this is the best series in the first round in the Eastern Conference.
Yes, I
This
agree
five,
100%.
this 5-4 series, and we see a lot of people talking about Jalen Brunson. He was just signed, and he's really proven himself this year. Another guy that I really like watching. And actually, I think I saw the other day, Luca, said, and the Mavs organization as a whole kind of misses playing with him. Because they have Kyrie, but Jalen Brunson on this Knicks team he can pass the ball, he can score the ball, and obviously Julius Randle is the offense of this team. He's putting I think 25 and 10 a game.
I'm sure the Mavs miss a lot of guys after missing the
Oh,
playoffs, like
I
Dorian
completely.
Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson. Like, why change the team so much? I don't
Mhm.
understand. But sorry,
Yeah,
that's just my
yeah,
frustration on
no,
Mavs. Keep it, continue.
yeah. So, again, I like Jalen Brunson, but like you were saying, I just don't think that he has enough in him, or this team as a whole has enough in them to overcome the bigs. We talked about Mobley being up there with in the Defensive Player of the Year race. He's a great defender. They have Jared Allen as another great defender, and then Mitchell is that offensive guy, another guy that has playoff experience and has. I think a few years ago in the bubble, he put up 40 plus points every game almost. I think
Yeah, he
50
was
plus
insane.
one or
I
two.
mean,
Yeah,
Mitchell, and Murray, just like you were talking about, insane, incredible.
yeah,
Continue.
yeah. And so we saw we saw Mitchell put up 70 plus this season. He's a proven scorer. He's another guy. He's strong. He can get to the rim. He can shoot the ball. Whatever you ask him to do offensively, he can do. And I just think that they have the guys to back him up defensively where he doesn't need to do as much defense. I mean, obviously he's a good defender, um, but he doesn't have as much pressure on him, I don't think, because they have guys inside. And if Okoro can get healthy, he's another great defender too. And then Garland, another great guard that you compare with Mitchell too, to kind of take a little bit of that offensive burden off of Mitchell. But overall, I just think, like you were saying, I think that the Cavs are just outmatched the Knicks in a lot of ways. So
Yeah, no, just a little too much. Very Very similar teams here. It's going to be exciting. I'm really interested. How far do you have Cavs in 6? How many games you got?
Yeah, so I have Cavs in 6. I think we both have them in 6. Yeah, so I think that going to New York and playing in Madison Square Garden is always a tough place to play. So I think that the Cavs take their games at home, and I think that they take one game on the road. But I think the Knicks are going to take at least two games on their home court. So
For sure, for sure. I like
yeah.
that. I like that a lot. All right, well, we are going to take a quick break because I need some water to regain my voice for the predictions, okay? So stay tuned. We're going to be right back. Predictions in a second.
Have you made it this far in the video and you aren't subscribed?
Dude, it's like halfway done.
What are you doing?
What's wrong with you, man?
Subscribe.
Subscribe to this channel right this instant, all right?
More subscribers equals more videos and more FaceTime with Jake and I.
All right. Have a good day, and you better freaking subscribe. Peace.
All right, welcome back into the show. I got my water. I'm ready to go. We got predictions for you. And if you've been waiting, I've been waiting for this. I'm so excited for this. And I needed to make sure that my voice was fully energized for you guys. So don't worry, I'm back. Okay? We're good. So we went through each of the matchups. We went through all of the Western matchups. We went through all of the Eastern matchups. And now we got to decide if our predictions from the NBA trade deadline will stay the same. So what I do, at least on the podcast, is the trade deadline ones count because we didn't start this podcast when the NBA season started. So that's like our preseason picks. I had preseason pick the Chiefs winning, and then before March Madness, I had Houston winning. So I'm 1-1. Okay, that's my record. Drew, this is your annual pick on Jake's Takes. Okay, you currently in the NBA trade deadline, you had the Suns over, I believe it was
The Bucks.
The Bucks. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so you had Suns Bucks. Are you going to switch that? And if you switch it, it doesn't count. It's just like a year off. So are you going to switch that, or are you going to stay with the same pick?
So I'm going to switch my Eastern Conference pick, and I know it's not going to count anymore.
Okay. Well,
But-
so what will happen is if you keep your finals, you're champion. You can still brag about that. I will let you brag about that.
Okay.
But just don't brag about the finals. But continue. Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah, my trade deadline picks were the Bucks and the Suns, and I had the Suns winning that series. And so, the second half of the season after, the trade deadline, after the All-Star game, when I've watched the Bucks, love the Bucks. We talked about the Bucks earlier on this podcast, but we also talked about the Celtics. And you know what? I was watching one game and I was getting alerts, and I told you we'd talk about this again. This was the reason about that 40-point blowout. And I just think we talked about the Celtics shooting. We talked about what they did to the Bucks late in the season. And I just think that Celtics team is going. I have them winning in 6. I don't even think it's going to go 7. I have them winning in 6 against the Bucks. And my finals prediction is going to stay the same. I have the Suns winning.
Okay.
So I have the Suns and Celtics now. I have the Suns winning in 7. I think that's going to be my hot take. Is I think that this finals, if this reaches to be the Suns Celtics, will be one of the best finals in history. I'm calling it right now on this podcast.
Let's go.
You have KD and this group of 4, this with Ayton, Chris Paul, Booker. We talked about it, right? And then you have this Celtics team now with Tatum, Brown, Smart, Horford. Guys that some guys on this team you'd never expect to do what they're doing, but they're doing it. And so I just think that this Celtics team, when you match up with the Bucks, it's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a tough series, but I think that the Celtics are going to come out on top. I think it's going to be a 4-2. I think that the Suns are going to come out on top in 7 games. And so I love the Bucks, and I'm not regretting my trade deadline prediction with them making the finals just because they have proven themselves and they have a lot of potential to make it again. This is just my prediction. But I think that the Celtics, who haven't really proven themselves in the playoffs before, making it to where they want, I think that this is the year. A lot of teams have their year, their statement year, and I think that this is the Celtics' statement year in the Eastern Conference. And I think they're gonna make the finals. I think it's gonna be a really good series. I think they're gonna lose the Suns though. I'm a huge Suns fan going into this postseason. So
Yeah, so back to back finals for Boston and back to back losses. That's what you got?
yep,
That's crazy. That's crazy.
yep,
I like that. I like that a lot. Um, Man, that game must have really changed your mind.
yeah.
What was it? Was it just like the matchups, or like was it Tatum or
I
Brown, or
I
what was
just think I just don't think I don't care if it's postseason or regular season. And people will say it's one game out of 82, right? It's one game. They won by 40 plus points. 40 plus. I don't care. I don't care if it was the first game of the season and you're rusty, or I don't care if it was the last game of the season and you're whatever. These teams were healthy. You saw all the stars, on the stage, and you saw just the Celtics just dominate them. We talked about their shooting. They might have an off game shooting wise. They're a great shooting team. Jaylen Brown struggled a little bit earlier in the season. He's figuring it out, right? He's missed, a couple games that I watched. He's missed some big free throws. He's missed some big shots. Tatum's had some struggles, but I think these two are figuring it out. I think going into the playoffs that the Bucks might be a little overconfident because they won it before, and so I think ultimately that I think the Celtics are just going to come out on top. And like I said, I don't care what sport you're talking about. It can be college football playoffs. It can be baseball, hockey. I don't care what it is. But there are teams that can have statement postseason runs, and I think that this Celtics team is just going to make their run to the finals and just fall short. I love it. I love the Celtics, but I just love the Suns a little bit more. I love their team. I love their matchup just a little bit more. So my Suns pick is going to stay the same, but I have the Suns in 7 in what I think would be a really, really good series and one that I would pay to watch. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome, man. I love that pick. I love it. Flat out. All right. Let's get to mine. Okay.
yes, I'm excited.
I really like that Boston thing. You really gave some good reasons for that, because I really like how you brought up the game in the regular season, just the matchups. Tatum can really exploit Giannis, which I mean, not like crazy, but like I think Tatum could exploit like the Middletons or things of that nature. And if Boston's hot, like that's tough. I really like how you pointed out that. But I got to get to mine. Okay. If you remember correctly, I had Cleveland out of the East playing Phoenix. And I believe I had it 5 or 6 games. I might have given them 6. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. But very interesting finals, right?
Yeah,
What do you think I'm going to do? You think I'm going to keep it or not?
I have a gut feeling that you're going to keep it just because I know you.
Mm,
I don't think you're going to give up on your pick, but
yeah.
let's hear. I'm excited.
I talked about it on NBA for Dummies, how Cleveland has been up and down for me, up and down throughout the whole time. I've had moments where I've been super high on them. I've had moments where I've been super low on them. So, it's really interesting to me how people have been looking at Evan Mobley lately, where Evan Mobley at the beginning of the year, people were like, is it this like a sophomore slump? Like, what's going on? He's not really doing that great. And then now he's up near Defensive Player of the Year rankings. Like, people are like, oh my gosh, this guy is like legit, right? He's insane. You got Jared Allen, fantastic big. He's excellent. Donovan Mitchell plays at a high level. He's really ridiculous scorer. You talked about earlier. Dropped 70 points. He dropped 50 points in playoff games. Can he show it in front of fans? Like I was talking about with Jamal Murray, right? Darius Garland, excellent playmaker, can do everything. Isaac Okoro, fantastic wing. Can he stay healthy? He's dealing with some injuries right now. He might be out for the Knicks game 1. Not sure. Probably game time decision there. But they just got a lot of pieces. Dean Wade have to step up, like I was talking about in the Cavs-Knicks series. The Cavs, very interesting pick. And net rating wise, they're second in the NBA. They're excellent in doing defense and offense. Cavs are probably the best defensive team in the Eastern Conference, 100%. And you're looking at it, they got to go through Milwaukee, then they got to go through a Philly or a Boston. You don't know. But I'm telling you, they're going to do it. They are going to go to the NBA Finals. Ooh. And I'm telling you, they just got the pieces. Donovan Mitchell is a fantastic scorer. Name me one person that can stop Donovan Mitchell. If you say Drew Holiday, you're not right. Because Donovan Mitchell is more athletic than anyone and will take him off the dribble. If you say Marcus Smart, like you just said, you're not right. You are not right. Marcus Smart has been dealing with hip injuries all season and is not at the same level as he was last season. What did he do to Steph Curry? Nothing. Donovan Mitchell is at the point where he is eclipsing to be one of the best scorers in basketball. That's where he is, and that's what he is going to show in these playoffs. Darius Garland is going to show you that he is the most selfless point guard in the NBA and can control the pace of the game and can play at a high level. I am all in on this Cleveland team. I have them going to the NBA Finals, and I have them meeting with Phoenix where they will meet their match. And I have Kevin Durant showing you why he is the player to be. I had in my predictions, I had the Suns playing the Nuggets. It was going to line up where the Suns would be I was hoping it would line up where the Suns would be the 3 seed. So that 4-1 seed, it's going to be a crazy series with the Suns and the Nuggets. I have the Suns sneaking out in 6 games. I don't have Jokic being enough. I really like that DeAndre Ayton matchup with Jokic. I think that's going to be very difficult. You were telling me that I'm not giving enough props to DeAndre Ayton. There's your props. He's going to have an excellent series in that one. And then if you're looking at the next round, I would have in my predictions, it would be Warriors-Lakers. I'm going to have the Warriors sneaking out of that one just barely. I think Steph's going to really take that matchup to heart where Steph versus LeBron. I got to prove that I'm more dominant than this guy. So I think Steph will be able to get there. And then I think Kevin Durant is going to be like, I got to beat my old team. There's no way I'm losing to this team. And they're going to win in 6 games against Golden State. And then I got them in the finals. And I got them winning in 5 against Cleveland. I just don't think Cleveland can match up with them very well. I think Kevin Durant is on a mission. The fact that he's 7-0 in games that he's played with Phoenix is just incredible. And Phoenix went all in. And I think Matt Ishbia is going to pay off for you. And we both got Phoenix. We both see how deep they are, how dominant they are. And if they stay healthy, they're the best team in basketball, in my opinion.
Yep, I completely agree. And I'm going to flip this question on you because I'm curious to hear your answer. So you talk about Donovan Mitchell. You talk about how efficient of a scorer he is, how no one can stop him. You tell me right now, who's going to stop this tandem, arguably the best in basketball, of Tatum and Brown?
Are we sure they're getting past Philly?
I have them winning in 7. I think that's going to be a good series too.
That's what I'm nervous about because I already told you guys on previous pods, if they match up with Philly, I think it's a fantastic matchup with them because they're just going to speed up the pace and they have 2 guys to go after Embiid and Mitchell and Garland would be enough to deal with Harden, I think. And I don't think Harden's at the point where he's going to be dominant Harden that we've seen in the past, So that's part of the reason why you could argue that Boston would beat Philly too. So that's interesting. And then if you look at Boston and Cleveland, I like that matchup. I really did because first of all, you could say who's going to stop them, but how are they going to score inside? And we saw from Tatum and Brown in the finals last year that physically they just didn't match up with the Warriors. The Warriors were much more physical. When Draymond got into Jaylen Brown's body and started picking him up full court in those finals games, Jaylen Brown just shrunk in the moment. And if I'm Boston and I'm seeing, oh, we're probably going to play Milwaukee, I'm excited for this. This is going to be a crazy series. And then I see Cleveland sneak out against Milwaukee. I'm like, oh, this might be a break. And then you take it for granted, and I think Cleveland's going to punch you in the mouth for it. And Donovan Mitchell in the past, you've seen him against Boston. He had 45 points the last time they played. He's been controlling the pace. I mean, you can't stop Mitchell. Like, he's difficult. And you could say Tatum might have a crazy game, but that's where Okobo is going to have to step up, and that's where Dean Wade's going to have to step up. It's really about these guys stepping up, and with Boston, it's a safer pick because they have a lot more guys you can choose from, and they've done it before, which I like the pick. But with Cleveland, man, you're all about in the West, the young guys stepping up, right? For me, it's the Eastern Conference. Those young guys are going to step up. That's what I'm saying.
So your Eastern Conference Finals then is Cleveland and Boston or Philly? Boston. Okay. So I like that you're going to put the respect on Boston.
No, I'm not going to say Philly's going to beat Boston. Yeah. I think it's going to go 7. I think it's going to be a crazy series like you said. But I don't think Boston will fold. Like James Harden, like I was saying, I'm just not sure if James Harden's there yet. I love James Harden. I love watching him play. He's a fantastic playmaker, but he's not at the scoring level that I want him to be at to where I put Philly in that spot.
Mm-hmm. So take me through more in depth. So if you have Cleveland, you have them beating the Bucks. Take me through what you think that series would be like.
So that would be grinded out like crazy. That would be a 7-game series too. Like the Cavs are going to have to win both these series in 7 games. And that's going to be a really hard ask. But the thing that's going to help them is that they have a tough matchup in the Knicks first round. They're going to really have to play hard and play smart to be able to beat them. And Bickerstaff's going to he's going to start to realize, okay, this is how I adjust in a playoff series. This is how I adjust to each team. So if they come out and punch Milwaukee in the mouth with excellent big play and stuff, then Budenholzer's going to make an adjustment, and then they're like, oh, okay, we got to make this adjustment. And they're going to learn on the fly and keep learning. And then if they can sneak out of that Milwaukee series, then you got Boston, and they've already done it before, like adjusting and moving and putting pieces together. And the one thing about Boston that scares me is Joe Mazzulla. I don't think he's a great coach. I don't think he has complete control of the locker room there. I think Bickerstaff would have the edge in that, and I think Bickerstaff would make the right decisions. Milwaukee is a tough one. That one, to me, is a little harder than the Boston series. Just to me, just because of Drew Holiday, he can slow down Donovan Mitchell. You also got Brook Lopez. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Nobody really matches up well with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The only thing that gives me hope is Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley has to show up and be the defensive player of the year. He has to be the most versatile defensive player we've seen ever. And also, Isaac Okoro and those wings really have to step up in order for this to happen.
No, I completely like this pick. I like Cleveland. Completely different team than we saw, who won the championships, a few years ago, back when they had LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love and that kind of tandem. Completely different crew. I don't think they have anyone on the team from those championship teams, but I just don't think those young guys. I talked about it in the West, and it's a little different because I don't think that those young guys are going to go as far. Because I'm huge on the Suns, and I just don't think that Donovan Mitchell, we've seen success out of him. I don't think he has enough around him. I don't think Mobley's there yet. I don't think Darius Garland's there yet. I don't think that team is there yet. And I love the Cavs. I just don't see them. I had them winning the series against the Knicks, but like you said, sometimes when you play so many tough teams, it's gonna catch up to you, right? And we see it in all these sports. It's great to prepare you, no matter what level you're at, no matter what sport you're in. But when you're in the NBA and you go from the Knicks to the Bucks to the Celtics and then you had them losing in the finals,
I
but
do have them losing.
and then to the Suns, right? Those are four of the top teams in the NBA, really. Maybe not the Knicks, but
It prepares you well. It
yeah,
prepares you well, dude. And that's part of the reason why I'm counting on them. And also, I love betting on those defensive anchors. Evan
yeah,
Mobley has put this team at a very high defensive level. And that's why I'm so excited for it. It's really going to be interesting. I'm
yeah.
so excited.
It's going to be a very fun playoffs. I know we plan on talking more about the playoffs as it goes on, and I just love to go back to this podcast and see some of these predictions hit. It doesn't matter if it's me or you. I just want to see kind of how things shape out to be. We have NBA tonight. We have 2 games. I don't know what the score of the Heat game is, but and then we have a full slate of action on Saturday, full slate of action on Sunday, and it kind of goes from there. We're gonna have games go 7 series. We're gonna have some sweeps, and we don't know who that's gonna be necessarily, but it happens every year, and it's just I don't think this year's any different. Actually, I think this year, kind of like March Madness, you don't know what to expect.
Wide
Right?
open. Wide open.
Wide open, and maybe not the upsets first round, but once you get past the first round, you have no idea. Looking at this bracket, I could be completely wrong with the Celtics. The Sixers could go all the way. Right, that's just kind of the level that these teams are at. We could see the Nuggets make a run that they haven't made before. And these are some things that have a lot of potential, but we just have to wait and see. And so I think your finals matchup is a 4 seed versus a 4 seed,
Yep.
which I don't know if we've seen that in the last, 20 years.
It's been a while, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
But no, I like that. And I'm a big proponent of rooting for these seeds that aren't really projected to do anything or to do much or to even win at all. Because when you have a 4 and a 5 first round, 5 seeds usually give them a tough time. And so I like that 4 versus 4 pick in your finals. Mine is a 4 versus 2, a little bit different, but it's hard to have 1 seeds make it every year. We've seen it way too much recently with the Bucks and the Warriors at times and the Cavs at times. So I like that this is a little.
Yeah, it just shows you how wide open the league is now. It's just
Yeah.
really wide open, and it makes the playoffs so interesting this year.
Mhm.
That's why I'm super excited for it.
Yeah.
But Drew, thank you so much for joining the podcast. We
course.
did another 2-parter, and I barely got through it with my voice falling apart, but that is okay. Okay, we had unbelievable predictions. We kept our predictions. We both got Phoenix winning it all. Please tune into the playoffs. It's going to be starting Saturday. This pod will be coming out Saturday as well. So maybe listen to the podcast while the games are going on. Currently, right now, Miami is up 5 against Chicago
Okay.
at halftime. And that will be a good one, I'm sure. So tune into that one. And please tune into this 2-part podcast. This was really fun. Drew, thank you so much for doing this. Drew will be back.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
Drew,
course.
you'll be back for the conference finals, right?
Yeah, and hopefully we'll still have some teams alive. I mean, we have a lot of predictions, but hopefully we can at least talk about a few of them that we made. But if we don't, then we're talking about a whole new set of teams, and that'll be fun too. So either way, the way it goes.
Exactly. Yeah, but Drew, thank you so much for everything you do. I'm really
Yep.
appreciative.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so that's going to wrap up part 2 of our NBA playoff preview. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. And from your host, Jake Masucci, I'm out. Peace.